forgot the apostrophe.
Hi, I'm Timo.
I'm Jason. So the presidential debates just happened.
Yes, and Jason and I were having a conversation the other day, and we were talking about our impressions. And in the middle of this, Jason gets all fired up about
Mitt Romney wanting to cut the PBS budget. And the PBS budget for fiscal year 2011 amounted to about $22.3 million. And that's from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting budget, which was around $444 million.
Mm-hmm.
So to put that in perspective, the cost of an F-22, one of those jets cost just over $420 million. So almost the entire budget for Corporation for Public Broadcasting, operating for a year.
PBS is a tiny percentage of that.
Right.
22 million out of 440 million.
Right.
So we're being generous and comparing the entire Corporation for Public Broadcasting against this plane.
Right. Which Senator John McCain, according to ABC News, calls a waste of their $79 billion price tag and serve no role in today's combat environment. Facts are stubborn things, McCain said. The F-22 has not flown a single combat mission. Not a single combat mission. I don't think the F-22 will ever be seen in the combat it was designed to counter because that threat is no longer in existence. So we spent $79 billion on a plane that has seen no combat and probably never will. Yet Governor Romney wants to cut $22.3 million for PBS.
A comment that I found really entertaining about this was from one of my favorite, I guess, sort of scientist commentator people.
Right.
Neil deGrasse Tyson basically said something to the tune of cutting the PBS budget in an effort to balance the federal budget or bring spending under control would be like deleting text files off of your hard drive in an attempt to reclaim space.
Right. We both grew up with PBS.
Oh, yeah.
Watching it. That was like one of the few channels I was allowed to watch. So like Sesame Street was a standard on there. Reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, PBS literally had probably 75% of the shows that my parents would allow us to watch. And I remember doing like Sesame Street and then The Electric Company and then 3-2-1 Contact, which was a great science show, like back to back to back. It was like 3 hours of television. That's what I grew up watching. And the idea that we would somehow benefit from, you know, it's like clipping your toenails hoping it's going to help you lose weight. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and then, you know, you start watching, as you get older, you start appreciating like the content that comes on in the evenings. Like
Nova. Speaking of Neil deGrasse Tyson,
yeah.
Nova is on PBS. And seriously, amazing work by Carl Sagan's Cosmos. That's legendary. I mean, there's so much. There would be no Discovery Channel, History Channel, all of these channels that we have now. All of that stuff used to be on PBS, and they still do some absolutely amazing programming in that field. But it's not even just education. There's entertainment as well. Isn't Austin City Limits a regular show on PBS? And it's like a concert series, I think. Like, I know some of the bands that I really like have done Austin City Limits. I mean, classical music, there's amazing concerts on there and stuff.
And also great literary TV shows.
Oh,
like
yeah.
From Masterpiece, which is now Masterpiece Classics.
Right.
Like, now we've got Downton Abbey, which is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And Sherlock, which is just...
which is awesome.
It's an incredible show, and like I think both of those shows are very literary.
And don't they come from the British version of PBS?
I think
the
so.
BBC?
Yeah. The BBC, yeah. I think it's a war on being smart, on not... Yeah. I think being smart is the wrong way to put it. It's a war on learning. They say we need to be the best country, but we need to be educated and prepared.
Yeah, in order to be the greatest nation in the world that God has given to the whatever, you have to invest in the underprivileged and the kids, and they use resources like PBS.
Right.
It teaches people, you know, like I joke that like all the Spanish that I know I learned on Sesame Street. You know, and the role that foreign language or a second language plays in a child's development is just huge.
Right.
And I would actually kind of almost disagree with you when you talk about it being a war on being smart. I think it's absolutely a war on intellectualism. And I think it shows in like the way that Stephen Colbert spoofs it, where he sort of says like, I don't think with my head. I think with my other head, like my gut. If it comes from my gut, then I believe it. If it comes from my head, you know, that whole shtick that he does, that's all based on the Rush Limbaughs and the Bill O'Reillys and the actual stuff that they say that seems to be, it's elitist to be intellectual. Right. Well, you can be intellectual without being a douche about it and being, you know, elitist.
Right. It's like one of my favorite authors, Ray Bradbury, said, like, I think he lived long enough to see intellectual become the dirty word it was always meant to be, as he wrote in Fahrenheit 451. Ironically, in that book, they're also fighting a war that just basically goes on
And on.
and on and on. It's always been happening. Tell us about your experiences with PBS. Like, what were your favorite shows? And, you know, hopefully our audience comes from different eras, and you'll have different experiences. So let us know.
Yeah, and if you have something maybe that you think would be a more effective cut to the federal budget, comment on that as well. We'd love to hear about that.
Like the military.
You know what? Jason wants to cut the military. So hit like, subscribe.
And comment below. Connect with us on Twitter as well, and we'll have our handles at the end of the video.
So yeah, that's it. Thanks
That's
for
all right.
watching.
Yeah.
I'm Timo.
And I'm Jason. We'll be around.